This is the short version of practice problem number 1 from lesson 4, Making the Moves, and unit 1, Rigid Transformations and Congruence. So there are 3 parts to problem number 1. Each shows a sequence of transformations. Now, a translation, a rotation, a reflection, those are different kinds of transformations. And so a sequence meaning more than one of these transformations. So in this case, you're going to move from this trapezoid P to this trapezoid Q, and you can see that's going to require a translation because you have to move this whole figure over to some point over here, and then it looks like it's going to be a rotation to rotate figure P to figure Q. The first transformation is a translation of P. So we're going to move P so that A moves to A prime. So this is, I'm going to call each of these a unit. This is 1, 2, 3, 4 units in this direction, horizontal direction, and then 1 unit in the vertical direction. For a translation, what that means is every one of these points, the entire figure is going to move 4 units, 1, 2, 3, 4, in the horizontal direction, and 1 unit in the vertical direction. So B moves to B prime, the same kind of move. So translation means this figure is going to move the same distance and in the same direction. So every point moves the same distance, 4 units, 1, 2, 3, 4, along the horizontal axis and 1 unit along the vertical axis, and that gives you the same direction. Same distance and the same direction. So the whole figure moves from this trapezoid P over to here. I could call this P prime. And the next move is to rotate around the center of rotation, which is at A prime, so that this trapezoid P prime lands right on top of Q. So we're going to use H. H is going to become the center of rotation. So A prime is going to, in essence, move to H. We're going to rotate this side 60 degrees. So this is a 60-degree rotation around H, and so B prime is going to move to E. Then we're going to rotate D prime to G, and a little bit harder to see, but this side right here, it's harder to see that it's a 60-degree rotation, so you can count. So you can count 2 units along the vertical axis, so 1, 2, and then 1 unit in the direction of rotation. That gets you to D prime. And then rotate this arrow 60 degrees and count again. So this is 1 unit, 2 units, and then 1 unit in the direction of rotation. So the same counting that moves D prime to G. And so you can see it this way if I draw this arrow to D prime, and this is a 60-degree rotation to G. So a 60-degree rotation. And you might be able to see it better if I shade in these parallelograms. So this parallelogram is going to rotate 60 degrees and land right here, which is going to take D prime to G. So several ways to look at it. And the last rotation is C prime to F. So this C prime is going to rotate 60 degrees and land right here on F. And again, you can use a counting strategy. So I'm going to count 1, 2 units, and then 2 units in the direction of rotation to get to C prime. Now I'm going to rotate this arrow 60 degrees. So that tells me that it's a 60-degree rotation. I'm going to do the same counting, 1 unit, 2 units, and then 2 units in the direction of rotation. And that takes C prime to F. You can see it this way if I just draw an arrow right to C prime and rotate this 60 degrees. It's a little bit harder to see that that's a 60-degree rotation, but that takes C prime to F. And if I shade in the parallelograms again, you might be able to see this a little bit more easily, that this is a rotation of this parallelogram 60 degrees that takes C prime to F. Now these problems are about a sequence of transformations, and in this case it's a translation first and then a 60-degree rotation to take this trapezoid P to this trapezoid Q. In part B, you are to move pentagon P to pentagon Q using a sequence of transformations. And in this case, you're going to use each transformation. You're going to use a translation, a rotation, and a reflection to move P to Q. So here's pentagon P, and we are going to translate P in the same direction and the same distance. So it's going to be 2 units in this direction, 1, 2. Every point is going to move those 2 units. So from C to its corresponding point here, 2 units. From this point here, 2 units. Same distance, same direction. That is a translation. So P goes to P prime. So now we're going to take P prime and rotate P prime around this point right here. So this is going to be the center of rotation. So if I rotate this side 60 degrees to here, this point ends up down here. And what I'm going to do, so that you can see it a little bit more easily, I'm going to draw a line to each vertex. So this line to this vertex, this line to this vertex up here, this line to this vertex, and this line to this vertex right here. And I'm going to rotate each one of those 60 degrees. So hopefully you can see that. So this is a 60-degree rotation from here to here, a 60-degree rotation from this point right here to this point right here, a 60-degree rotation from here to here, and finally a 60-degree rotation from this point to this point. So the whole image gets rotated 60 degrees from P prime to P double prime, we'll call that. And the last step is a reflection over this line of reflection right here. Now a reflection means that you're going to move each point of P double prime 90 degrees, so perpendicular to the line of reflection. So this is a 90-degree angle, or is perpendicular to that line of reflection, and an equal distance on the other side of this line of reflection. So each of these points moves an equal distance on the other side and in a perpendicular direction to the line of reflection. So this is one of those diamonds, and this is one of those diamonds on the other side. So you end up with the transformed image Q from figure P. In part C, you're asked to transform triangle P to triangle Q. And in this sequence of transformations, I'm going to choose to use a translation and a reflection. The authors actually do it a little bit differently. I'll go over that at the end. So here's figure P and its transformed image Q. The angle of this line segment right here, B to C, is the same as the angle of this line segment right here, F to D, to a horizontal line. And because that's true, I can translate P so that C lands on top of D. So the same distance and the same direction as B, same distance, same direction. So B lands on top of F, and A lands on top of A prime. So I translated triangle P to its image, which is right here. And to get to Q, now I'm going to just reflect this triangle over this line of reflection, which is FD. So I'm going to reflect this triangle over this line of reflection, FD. That means I'm going to move this point in a 90-degree angle, so perpendicular to line segment FD, and an equal distance from this line of reflection, so it lands on E. So 90 degrees and an equal distance. So A prime goes to E, and this is the transformed image of figure P. And that's a sequence of transformations. So P was translated and then reflected to get to Q. The authors chose to translate A to E and then rotate BA so it lands on EF, and then they reflect that triangle over this line of reflection right here, FE. So 3 steps in the sequence rather than the 2 steps that I used.